Today I'm going to be showing you how to stop your lower back from hurting when you're performing core training exercises. What's up everybody, it's Blake Bowman here with Gorilla Zen Fitness, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a couple of strategies that you can employ while training your abs to stop that annoying back pain from coming about while you're training them. So to kick it off, the number one culprit behind experiencing lower back pain during a core training exercise like a plank or a leg raise or something like that is a tight iliopsoas muscle. Now this muscle it's probably best if you Google image search this just to get an idea of what it looks like. I don't own any copyrights to any images, so I didn't want to include them in this video. But basically it attaches on all of your lumbar vertebrae, okay, in your lower back. It runs forward and then attaches on your legs here, okay? And basically, when this thing gets really, really tight, it causes extension or arching to occur in the lower back. All right, so if you can't perform an exercise like a leg raise like this, or a isometric leg hold like this without this happening at your lower back, without excessive arching, so much so that somebody can stick their hand underneath your lower back, then you probably have a tight and overactive iliopsoas. Before I show you some workarounds and ways to get yourself out of pain when training your core, it's important to know how this muscle becomes tight. And as usual, it's caused by excessive sitting. That's definitely one of the biggest causes of a tight iliopsoas. So if you're sitting a lot, really try to reduce the amount of time that you spend sitting if this is a problem for you. Secondly, I actually made a video a long time ago on how to release the iliopsoas. You can check that out right over here or in the description down below. The exercises that I share in that video, I'll be honest with you, will give you subpar release, if they even do anything, just because the iliopsoas is such a hard muscle to reach with pressure techniques and it doesn't really respond very well to stretching. But you can check out the video that I made on that. Some of those things may help you out, but the biggest thing that you can do moving forward is just to stop sitting as much, essentially. Okay, so now that you know what causes tightness in the iliopsoas, as well as some exercises that you can do to release it, I'm now going to share with you some workarounds that are going to allow you to train your core without the back arching excessively and causing you pain. So in physical therapy, they call the movement of extension when it causes pain. When you extend like this and you arch your back, if that causes pain, then you have extension syndrome, okay? And if that's happening to you when you're training your core, then that's what you have. So the biggest thing that you want to be aware of when you're training core is you want to avoid the arching of the lower back. Anything you do, you want to avoid the arching of the lower back. So if you have a really tight iliopsoas, certain exercises are going to make it really hard to avoid arching the lower back, and you'll want to avoid those. Things like flutter kicks, where you're laying on your back, fluttering your legs, isometric leg hold, leg raises, Roman chair leg raises, partnered sit-ups, things like that. Even plank, when done in the wrong way, is going to cause that arch. Okay, so when you're choosing an exercise for a core, if you are unable to do it without arching the lower back, then you need to pick a different one where you're able to control your spine a little bit more. So for you, those exercises would be contraindicated for the time being until you can kind of deal with the overactivity and tightness in the psoas and bring more of that contraction and focus onto your abs. Here are some exercises that I would recommend you try that are going to prevent that lower back from arching and also teach you to have the motor control to perform some of those other exercises without the back arching. So this first one is just a plank with a posterior pelvic tilt. So this is an exercise that I talk about a lot in my videos, and that's simply because it's just very effective. So what you're going to do is you're basically going to get into plank position, which is something that most people are very familiar with, but instead of just focusing on keeping yourself up, you're going to focus on posteriorly tucking your pelvis, which is going to neutralize the lumbar spine and make it impossible to arch your back. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to get into plank. You're going to get your hips approximately in a straight line with your shoulders and your head. And then from here, instead of being in this arched position here, which is what you're going to have the propensity or predisposition to do, you're going to tuck it underneath you instead. Okay? And basically, You're just going to do what I just did there. You're going to make sure that you're not arching in the lower back. You're sucking the pelvis underneath you like you're trying to hide your butt. And that's something that you can hold for about 5 sets of 30 seconds. This last one is great because it's going to teach you to have the motor control of your lumbar spine so that you can eventually come back to some of those other exercises that you're trying to do without the lower back extension arching happening. So this is called a dead bug, and I'm going to show you 3 progressions of it, okay? Because it's kind of hard. If you start with the last progression right now, you're going to have almost a impossible time trying to prevent the arching from happening. But essentially, you're going to start on your lower back, not your lower back. You're going to start on your back here. You're going to start with your hips at about 90 degrees. Your arms are going to go up overhead. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to raise your arm down to the ground independently, like this, without letting the lower back arching occur, okay? You're trying to keep your lower back flat on the floor the whole time. Nobody should be able to shove anything under your lower back, okay? It should be flat against the ground, okay? You're going to do this. If this is really easy for you, doing this for about 5 repetitions on each side, then you can progress into doing legs, okay? This is going to be a little bit more challenging. This is going to get iliopsoas activity, okay? We're trying to keep this really tight, okay? Every time you extend your leg out, exhale really hard. And on the exhale, you're trying to bring your ribs down towards your pelvis. You're bracing the core, okay? Not letting the arching happen. Okay? Continue to do both of those until you can do it, fairly regularly for a lot of sets without arching. The next progression is you're going to move your opposite arm with your opposite leg. So if you're extending your left hip and knee, you're going to be flexing your right shoulder overhead like this, okay? Again, flat back. This is another progression, okay? This one is pretty challenging. Big exhale. Okay, the last progression is going to look something like this. You're going to flex both shoulders, and you're going to extend both hips and knees simultaneously. Okay, this is the last progression. Going to go like this. Big exhale when you extend here, keeping that core braced. Again, I can't stress enough how important it is to keep your lower back on the ground when you're doing these, okay? So keep that lower back flat and don't start with that top progression. Start down low and only move on and progress once you've mastered those lower level progressions. On a concluding note here, if you have this issue, extension syndrome, when you're arching your back during core exercises, then you probably also have hyperlumbar lordosis, which is an exaggerated curve in the lumbar spine here, okay? You probably also have an anterior pelvic tilt where your butt kind of sticks out like this. If you do have that in conjunction with experiencing pain during core exercises, then that is something that you definitely want to address with these. I actually made a video on that recently. You can check it out right over here. I would recommend integrating those exercises into your routine as well. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do that right over here. Also, I'm being very active on Facebook and Instagram nowadays, so I would appreciate a like and a follow there. I'll include links in the description down below. And on a last concluding note here, I'm looking for more questions to answer for you all, more topics to address and more videos to make. So if you have anything that you want to see me address on my channel here, then go ahead and leave me a comment in the comment area down below. Other than that, as always, I will see you next time.